Women don't want you hearing this, my friend, because once you do, their entire playbook stops working on you. Most men walk through life believing women love the way men love, straightforward, loyal, unconditional. But reality hits hard. You give your time, your attention, your effort, your heart, and still get blindsided. One day she's sweet, warm, leaning into you. The next she's cold, distant, or acting like you're an inconvenience. And you're left wondering, what suddenly changed? You replay every word. You question your value. You think you did something wrong. But here's the truth. Nobody tells men nothing went wrong. You just bumped into female nature, unfiltered, unromantic, and brutally honest. Men suffer not because women are bad, but because men misunderstand the rules of the game. In this video, I'm going to reveal the deeper hidden patterns behind how women choose, test, pull back, and respond to masculine energy. Not the fairy tale version, the real version. The version Machiavelli and the Stoics understood centuries ago. And once you see these patterns clearly, you stop getting blindsided. You stop getting manipulated. You stop giving your power away. You're about to understand women and yourself at a level most men never reach. Let's get into it. Number 1. The desired truth women hide. Folks, let's start with the truth. Men never see clearly because the world keeps telling them the opposite. Women love differently than men. Men love with ideals. Women love with instinct. Men fall for who a woman is. Women respond to what a man provides emotionally, mentally, physically, and yes, sexually. That difference creates the frustration many men feel, but never say out loud. Let me make this real for you. There's a man named Mark, 59, a retired corrections officer from Missouri. Good heart, steady worker, raised his kids right. After his divorce, he met Angela, 55, a warm, attractive blonde who worked at a local medical office. Their chemistry was strong. She laughed at his jokes, touched his arm when she talked, and gave him that feminine energy he hadn't felt in years. Mark thought her desire came from the connection. But here's the brutal truth. Angela's desire didn't come from feelings alone. It came from what she felt from him, his steadiness, his assertiveness, his sexual confidence, his grounded presence. When he showed up as that man, she responded. When he slipped into insecurity, over-explaining or trying too hard, her desire cooled. Mark thought her interest was about history and emotions. But Angela's desire was about energy. Women hide this truth because it sounds harsh. A woman's desire is conditional. A man's desire is not. Men will want a woman because of who she is and how she looks. Women stay turned on by who you are being and how you carry yourself over time. Mark learned this the hard way. One week, Angela was all over him, texting, first initiating dates, leaning into him on the couch, eyes full of feminine heat. The next week, he got clingy. He overthought her pauses. He asked, "Is everything okay?" 3 times too many. He stopped being the grounded presence that attracted her, and suddenly she wasn't as warm. Not because she stopped loving his personality, but because the energy that pulled her in was gone. Women rarely verbalize this. They talk about chemistry, spark, vibe, comfort, but all those words point to one thing: how your masculine energy makes her feel in her body. Women are drawn to men who provide emotional gravity, sexual certainty, and calm leadership. They pull away from men who need reassurance, who chase, or who place their worth in her hands. The Stoics understood this dynamic. Marcus Aurelius said, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When your thoughts are anxious and self-doubting, your body language and presence follow. When your thoughts are calm, disciplined, and confident, your presence hardens, and women feel that too. And here's the kicker. Women expect you to know this without them explaining it. They won't say, "I want you to be stable so I can feel safe." They won't say, "If you act needy, I'll lose desire." They feel it and react accordingly. Mark eventually rebuilt himself. He stopped using Angela's reactions as a measure of his worth. The moment he returned to being grounded, her desire came back not because he convinced her, but because he became the man her instincts respond to. If you've seen how a woman's desire rises and falls based on your energy, drop a comment saying, "I've seen this. Stick with me." Because once you understand this desire truth, the next insight exposes the self-interest instinct. Women follow, even when they swear they don't. Number 2. The self-interest switch she always uses. Folks, here's a truth most men don't want to swallow. Every woman has a self-interest switch, and whether she realizes it or not, she flips that switch based on what you bring into her life. Not what you promise, not what you feel, what you bring. And this switch is always running in the background, shaping how she treats you, how she responds to you, and how much of herself she gives you. Most men believe women operate on loyalty, fairness, or emotional history. They think, if I'm good to her, she'll be good to me. That's not how female psychology works. A woman responds to what benefits her in the present moment emotionally, socially, financially, physically. When being close to you serves her, she leans in. When it doesn't, she pulls away. That shift isn't personal, it's instinct. This is why you can spend months being her rock, her confidant, her emotional support, and then watch her grow distant the moment you stop providing something she values. It's not cruelty, it's calibration. She's adjusting her investment to match what she perceives you're offering now. Here's the brutal pattern. When you elevate her life, she invests. When you drain her life, she withdraws. When you stay the same while she grows, she re-evaluates you. And when you grow while she stagnates, she fears losing you. Every man has lived through this dynamic, but few recognize it for what it is. They call it mixed signals, female confusion, or emotional swings. But at its core, it's the self-interest switch flipping on and off. And let's make something very clear. Men have the same switch. They just lie to themselves about it. Machiavelli said, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." He wasn't insulting humanity, he was describing it. The world runs on self-interest. So do men, so do women. The difference is that women express it more indirectly and men pretend they don't have it. Now here's where Stoicism becomes your advantage. Epictetus taught, "Make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens." A woman's self-interest switch is not in your power, but your response to it is. The moment you stop taking her shifts personally, you stop being controlled by them. Her distance no longer rattles you. Her warmth no longer inflates you. Her inconsistency no longer defines you. Most men weaken themselves by fighting the switch. They try to argue with it, convince it, force it, but you can't negotiate with instinct. You can only position yourself wisely. When you improve your life, your discipline, your purpose, your presence, her switch naturally flips in your direction. When you become dependent, reactive, or stagnant, that switch flips away. Here's the truth most men miss. A woman's self-interest doesn't make her bad. Your ignorance of it makes you vulnerable. Once you understand that women adjust their investment based on what they feel in the present, you stop expecting loyalty without value. You stop giving endlessly without receiving. You stop mistaking attention for affection or affection for devotion. You start operating like a man who understands the game instead of a man who suffers from it. If you've seen this switch flip in real life, drop a comment saying, "I know this." Stay tuned, because next we're going to break down the loyalty test women use that exposes exactly how they see you, even if they never say it out loud. Number 3. The loyalty test that exposes her feelings. Folks, let's be real. Every woman gives you a loyalty test long before you ever realize it's happening. It's not a test she announces. It's not a test she writes down. It's a test she performs through her behavior, when your value or what you bring to her life shifts even slightly. And this test always reveals her true feelings, not the words she says when everything is going well. Here's how it works. A woman will stay close to you as long as being close benefits her emotionally, socially, or practically. But the moment something changes in your world, your finances drop, your confidence dips, you get sick, you lose momentum, she automatically recalibrates. This is where you see the real version of her. Let me show you a real-life example. There's a man named Thomas, 58, a former firefighter from North Carolina, strong, dependable, yet recently divorced. After several years alone, he began dating a woman named Valerie, 52, a lively brunette who owned a small bakery. At first, everything was effortless. She loved his stories, admired his strength, and said things like, "You make me feel safe." She soaked in his masculine steadiness because it made her feel grounded. Then, Thomas had a shoulder injury that put him out of work for months. His mood dipped, his energy dropped. He wasn't the same steady presence she first attached herself to. And that's when Valerie's loyalty test began, not through words, but through distance. She called less. She checked in less. She stopped bringing him food from her bakery. When they talked, she seemed distracted, impatient, and sometimes annoyed. Thomas didn't fail the test. The test revealed her. It showed that her loyalty was tethered not to the man himself, but to the benefits of being with him. And that is exactly what Machiavelli meant when he said, "Men are less afraid of offending a man who makes himself loved than one who makes himself feared." He wasn't saying, "Be cruel." He was saying people stay where their needs are met. Women are no different. Contrast that with another example. When Thomas started pulling himself together, physical therapy, gym sessions, taking small consulting jobs, Valerie suddenly became warm again. Why? Because the version of him she desired resurfaced. Her behavior wasn't random. It was self-interest responding to value. And here's the lesson. A woman's loyalty is revealed during your low moments, not your high ones. When you're winning, everyone loves you. But when life squeezes you, only those who see you, not just what you offer, remain. And the number of people in that category is always smaller than you expect. Stoicism gives you clarity here. Seneca said, "Misfortune shows those who are not really friends." In relationships, misfortune shows those who are not really loyal. It's not pessimism, it's pattern recognition. Female loyalty is not proven by affection during easy times. It's proven by behavior during hard ones. Thomas eventually understood something powerful. Loyalty is not about length of time spent together. It's about how she responds when you temporarily have less to offer. That single moment tells you everything. If you've seen someone reveal their true loyalty when your life hit a low point, drop a comment saying, "I've lived this." Stay tuned, because next we're going to dig into the respect rule women feel long before they ever verbalize it, and why violating it kills attraction instantly. Number 4. The respect line that turns her on. Folks, here's a truth. Men learn too late. A woman's desire rises and falls on one thing: respect. Not romance, not gifts, not how much you adore her. Respect. And respect isn't something she gives because you're a good man. It's something she gives because she feels your strength. Women are wired to respond to the man who draws a clear line for how he expects to be treated. That line is what turns her on. A woman can like you, enjoy you, even love parts of you. But if she doesn't respect you, desire dies instantly. It doesn't fade slowly, it collapses. And most men today are confused because they keep trying to win women through kindness, comfort, and emotional honesty, while ignoring the single factor that shapes female attraction. More than anything, whether she sees you as a man who stands firm. Here's the part men misunderstand. Respect isn't demanded, It isn't begged for. It's not something you can lecture her into giving. Respect comes from how you carry yourself under pressure. It comes from how you handle disagreement. It comes from how you respond when she pushes your boundaries, because yes, she will push them. Women test not because they're cruel, but because they need to know what kind of man they're dealing with. A woman pushes to feel the edge of your strength. She challenges to see if you'll fold. She withdraws to see if you'll chase. She pokes your ego to see if you'll lose control. Every one of these moments creates clarity in her mind. If you crumble, she loses respect. If you stay steady, she softens. If you meet tension with calm confidence, she feels that deep, instinctive attraction women can't explain, but always respond to. This is why kindness without strength never works. A man who is only nice is forgettable. A man who is grounded, firm, and self-respecting, that's the man she desires. The Stoics understood this long before dating psychology existed. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it." Losing your center because of a woman's mood, tone, or tests shows her you don't govern yourself. And a man who cannot govern himself cannot lead a relationship, emotionally or otherwise. Women don't articulate this, but they feel it instantly. A man who collapses under pressure becomes unattractive. A man who stays centered becomes magnetic. The respect line is simple. You don't tolerate disrespect. You don't chase someone pulling away. You don't argue to earn validation. You don't abandon your standards to keep the peace. And here's the brutal twist. The moment you hold the line, the moment you show that you value your own dignity over immediate emotional comfort, desire spikes. Because your strength gives her something to respond to. Men who lack a respect line lose women slowly and painfully. Men who enforce it gently but firmly never struggle with attraction. It's not about dominance, it's about self-governance. A woman feels safest and most alive with a man she respects. If you want deeper training on how to build that inner steadiness, handle female tests, and embody the masculine frame women crave, consider joining the channel membership. Inside, I break this down in ways I simply can't share publicly. If you've ever seen a woman's desire change the moment she stopped respecting you, drop a comment saying, "I've learned this. Stay with me." Because next, we're going into the boundary game women play and why the men who fail it lose attraction fast. Number 5. The boundary game she plays with men. Folks, every woman, consciously or not, plays what I call the boundary game. It's not a game meant to hurt you. It's a game meant to reveal you. Women push, they test, they stretch the edges of your tolerance, not because they're malicious, but because they're wired to feel out the strength of the man they're dealing with. Your reaction tells her everything about your confidence, your self-respect, and your emotional backbone. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Take a man named Greg, 56, a former Navy mechanic from Florida. After years of staying single, he started dating a woman named Lisa, 54, a warm, sharp-tongued brunette who loved to flirt but also loved to push buttons. During their first month together, Lisa tested boundaries, constantly showing up late to dates, making little jabs about his habits, and occasionally mentioning other men just to gauge his reaction. Greg thought it was disrespect. It wasn't. It was assessment. She wanted to know what kind of man stood in front of her. Would he get insecure? Would he argue? Would he apologize unnecessarily? Or would he stay calm and grounded? One night, Lisa showed up 40 minutes late without texting. Greg didn't yell. He didn't sulk. He didn't pretend it was fine either. He simply said, "If we make plans, I expect us both to respect the time. Let's reset and try again tomorrow." He walked her to her car and ended the night early. The next day, Lisa was 10 minutes early and entirely different, soft, attentive, respectful. Why? Because he passed a boundary test most men fail. Women do this at every age. but it becomes even more pronounced with women in their 40s and 50s. They've lived enough life to know that a man who can't hold the line becomes a liability. A woman wants a partner, not a project. And here's the deeper truth. Boundaries and desire are directly linked. A woman cannot desire a man she does not respect, and she cannot respect a man who allows her to walk all over his standards. The boundary game isn't about conflict, it's about clarity. She needs to know how far she can push before you lose your center. If the answer is not far at all, she relaxes. If the answer is anywhere, she loses attraction. The Stoics understood this dynamic long before psychology gave it a name. Epictetus wrote, "No person is free who cannot master themselves." A boundary is nothing more than self-mastery expressed externally. When you enforce a boundary calmly, you're not punishing her. You're showing her you govern yourself. That signal is deeply masculine, and women feel it immediately. Greg learned something powerful through Lisa. A boundary is not a wall, it's a standard. A wall keeps people out. A standard teaches them how to come in. When you enforce standards, women don't run, they adjust. And here's the twist. Most men never see once. A woman knows where your boundaries are. She actually becomes warmer, softer, more feminine. She no longer has to push to figure out who you are. The testing stops. The tension drops. Respect rises. And desire follows. If you've ever noticed a woman testing you early on, drop a comment saying, "I've seen this." Let's keep going, because next we're stepping into the one dynamic every man gets wrong: distance, and how it fuels attraction more than anything you say or do. Number 6. The distance move that sparks her attraction. Folks, if there's one pattern men consistently misunderstand, it's this: distance is not the enemy of attraction. For women, distance creates attraction. Not emotional withdrawal, not coldness, not punishment, but healthy, grounded distance that signals you are a man with his own life direction and internal world. Women don't crave a man who is always available. They crave a man they can move toward. And she can't move toward you if you never step back. Most men overinvest early. They text too much, share too much, adjust their schedule instantly, fill every silence and respond to every emotional shift a woman makes. They suffocate the space where attraction grows. A woman senses this and instinctively cools off, not because she lost interest, but because he removed the very tension that made her feel drawn to him. Here's the truth. Women feel attraction through polarity. Polarity requires space. When you stand too close, emotionally or physically, you collapse that polarity and kill the spark without realizing it. Distance is the recalibration point. It allows her to feel, not just see, your value. This is where the Stoics were far ahead of their time. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Nowhere can man find a quieter or more untroubled retreat than in his own soul." A man who knows how to retreat into himself, not to hide but to stay centered, becomes magnetic. He is not needy. He is not chasing. He is not seeking reassurance. He is simply grounded in his life, and women feel the stability of that presence. Distance is not about ignoring her. It's about refusing to orbit her. Here's what distance looks like in practice. You don't rush to reply because you're living. You don't adjust your entire schedule around her availability. You don't panic when she pulls back. You don't overshare every emotion. You don't make her the center of your attention before she earns that position. A man who carries himself with this kind of space communicates something very powerful. I choose you, but I don't need you to feel whole. That message hits a woman on a biological and psychological level. When a woman senses your life is already full purpose, discipline, friends, health, ambitions, she leans in. Because being with you feels like stepping into a current that's already moving. A man without his own current becomes dead, still water. Women don't crave stillness. They crave direction. Distance also stops one of the biggest killers of attraction: emotional overexposure. Men often confuse vulnerability with unloading. They reveal too much too soon. They hand over their fears, doubts, and insecurities without context. And the moment she senses he needs her emotional validation, attraction drops. But when your emotional world belongs primarily to you, when you share selectively instead of endlessly, a woman feels the strength of your inner containment. That strength is deeply attractive and extremely rare in modern men. Distance also keeps you from getting hooked on her patterns. When you maintain your routines, your purpose, your space, you're no longer controlled by her hot and cold behavior. You stop reacting and start observing. And that, ironically, is when she feels the strongest pull toward you. The man who understands distance understands leverage, not manipulation, leverage. The natural power that comes from not abandoning yourself for the sake of approval. If you've ever seen a woman get more interested when you focused on your own life, drop a comment saying, "I've noticed this." Stay with me, because next we're diving into the emotional leverage women use, often without knowing it, and how to recognize it before it takes hold of you. Number 7. The emotional control she uses against you. Folks, let's be real. Women don't control men with strength. They control men with emotion. Not because they're evil, not because they sit around planning manipulation, but because emotional influence is built into female psychology. Women read emotional shifts faster than men, respond to them faster, and use them consciously or not to shape a man's behavior. And if you don't understand this dynamic, you end up reacting instead of leading. Here's a real example. There's a man named Robert, 60, a retired truck driver from Ohio. Steady guy, practical, no games. He started seeing Jennifer, 57, a soft-spoken woman who worked in event planning. At first, everything felt smooth. She complimented him, leaned in during conversation, and made him feel appreciated in a way he hadn't felt since his late 40s. But then came the emotional shifts. Jennifer would suddenly act cold for a day, then warm again. She'd go from affectionate to distant without any explanation. Robert assumed he did something wrong. He asked too many questions. He tried to fix the emotional dip. He apologized for things he didn't even do. And the more emotional ground he surrendered, the more Jennifer controlled the pace of the relationship. Women rarely use logic to control men. They use emotional atmosphere. That's what men misunderstand. When she sighs heavily, pulls back slightly, becomes quiet, or acts irritated, you feel the tension. And because men are fixers, we rush in trying to soothe, repair, or explain. But in doing so, we abandon our center. Jennifer didn't consciously decide, "Let me manipulate Robert." Her emotional reactions simply shaped his behavior because he let them. And that's the difference between men who lead and men who get led. Emotional control works like this. She shifts her tone. You shift your behavior. She withholds warmth. You overinvest. She becomes distant. You chase harder. Before long, she learns without saying a word that your emotional stability depends on her mood. And once a woman realizes she can move you emotionally with small changes, the dynamic is no longer equal. This is why Stoicism matters. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." A woman's emotional swings are outside events, her moods, her tone, her silences, her reactions. None of these are yours to control. What is yours is your response. And when your response is steady, grounded, and slow, emotional control loses all power over you. What Jennifer expected was for Robert to bend. What she didn't expect was what happened months later, when he finally learned to pause instead of react. When she became cold, he didn't chase. When she became irritated, he didn't immediately soothe. He simply stayed present and calm. And guess what happened? Her emotional swings became shorter, her respect grew, her attraction deepened. because emotional control only works on a man who abandons himself. Women instinctively gravitate toward men who stay stable regardless of emotional weather. Men who don't panic. Men who don't spiral. Men who don't assume they're at fault. Men who observe first instead of fixing immediately. And once you stop responding to emotional pressure, you stop being controlled by it. If you've experienced a woman's emotional shifts shaping your behavior, drop a comment saying, "I've felt this." Don't go anywhere, because next we're going to look at the dark female pattern men almost never detect, yet it determines how much of herself she gives you. Number 8. The dark female pattern men never see. Folks, here's where things get uncomfortable. There's a dark pattern in female psychology that most men never recognize until it's already cost them their confidence, their time, and sometimes years of their life. It's not evil, it's not malicious, it's instinctual. And because men expect women to love the way they love, they get blindsided by it every time. Here's the pattern. A woman mirrors the version of you she's attracted to, not the version you think you are. Most men fall in love with the idea that a woman chooses them for their personality, their kindness, their history together. But women choose based on the experience you create inside her. When that experience changes, her behavior changes. When your energy shifts, her desire shifts. When your confidence breaks, her warmth breaks too. And here's the dark part, she rarely tells you why. She won't say, "Your energy feels weaker than before." She won't say, "I don't feel the same tension I once felt." She won't say, "The version of you I wanted isn't present right now." Instead, she becomes distant, quiet, less affectionate. She takes longer to reply. She stops leaning in. Not because she's planning an exit, but because her instinct is recalibrating around the new version of you she's sensing. Men call it confusion. Women call it intuition. This is why so many men feel blindsided when a woman suddenly changes. They think the shift came out of nowhere. But for her, it didn't. She felt the change in your tone, your energy, your behavior, weeks before you noticed anything. The Stoics understood this, even though they weren't talking about dating. Epictetus said, "Circumstances do not make the man, they reveal him." Women don't change you, they reveal you. Their reactions highlight where you're strong, where you're weak, and where you've abandoned yourself. A woman's dark pattern is simple. She intensifies your energy when you're strong. She retreats from your energy when you're unstable. She doesn't choose consciously, she responds unconsciously. And here's what most men never see. A woman doesn't fall out of desire. She falls out of alignment with who you're being right now. This is why a man can treat a woman well and still lose her interest. This is why a man can provide everything and still get replaced. This is why a man can feel blindsided even when the signs were obvious. Women don't drift away because they're cruel. They drift away because your presence no longer creates the emotional charge they're wired to respond to. And this is where many men make their biggest mistake. They try to win her back with more effort instead of more strength. Effort doesn't revive attraction. Strength does. Self-respect does. Direction does. Boundaries do. When you return to your grounded masculine self, her behavior often snaps back into place, not because she suddenly realizes what she lost, but because the version of you she was drawn to has resurfaced. This dark pattern only hurts men who deny it. The moment you acknowledge it, you stop being shocked by women's shifts. You start understanding them. And when you understand women, you stop chasing, you stop begging, you stop negotiating, you start leading. If you've ever seen a woman change based on the energy you were showing, drop a comment saying, "I know this." Stick with me, because next we're going to unlock the masculine shift that breaks every hidden pattern women use without you having to say a single word. Number 9. The masculine energy she can't manipulate. Folks, let's be real. Women can influence almost any man who isn't rooted in himself. But there's one type of masculine energy they can't manipulate because it doesn't react, doesn't chase, and doesn't collapse under emotional pressure. It's the energy of a man who knows exactly who he is, what he stands for, and what he will and will not tolerate. Most men think masculine energy is about being loud, dominant, or confrontational. That's not masculinity. That's insecurity wearing a mask. Real masculine energy is calm, grounded, and unshakable. A woman can't manipulate a man who stays centered no matter what emotional waves she throws his way. Let me show you this with a real example. There's a man named David, 57, a former paramedic from Arizona. After losing his wife years earlier, he remained single until he met Michelle, 53, a divorced mom working in real estate. Michelle was charming, perceptive, and emotionally intense, the kind of woman who could pull a man in deep if he wasn't careful. In the beginning, Michelle tried the typical emotional patterns, light jealousy comments, testing his patience, going quiet for a day to see if he'd chase. Most men in her past reacted immediately. They texted more, they apologized, they tried harder, but not David. When Michelle pulled away for a day, David didn't panic. He went hiking. When she tested his patience, he stayed calm and replied hours later with the same steady tone. When she threw a mild emotional curveball, "Maybe you're not as interested as I thought," he simply said, "I don't prove myself through arguments." He never raised his voice. He never sought reassurance. He never folded. And Michelle, instead of becoming frustrated, became more attracted. Why? Because women can't manipulate what they can't move. Women instinctively test the emotional stability of a man because stability signals safety. When your mood swings with hers, you show instability. When your self-worth rises and falls with her attention, you show dependency. But when you stay grounded regardless of her emotional weather, she feels your strength in a deeper way than words ever express. The Stoics understood this inner steadiness long before modern psychology. Seneca said, "Self-command is the greatest command of all." A man who commands himself cannot be commanded by anyone else, and women feel the power of that instantly. Here's what masculine energy that can't be manipulated looks like. He listens, but he's not controlled by tone. He feels, but he doesn't drown in emotion. He cares, but he doesn't chase validation. He leads himself, which is why others follow. This energy forces a woman into her feminine, not because you demand it, but because your presence creates it. A woman can push, pull, question, and test. But when she realizes your center doesn't move, she drops the games. She relaxes. She softens. She becomes warmer because she finally feels she's with a man who won't crumble. David didn't dominate Michelle. He anchored her, and that anchoring made him the first man she respected in years. If you've ever seen how a woman reacts differently to you when you stay grounded, drop a comment saying, "I feel this." Let's keep going, because next we're stepping into the final shift, the Stoic power that makes you truly untouchable in any relationship. Number 10. The Stoic power that makes you untouchable. Let's be real, my friend. Every pattern we've talked about, female instinct, emotional testing, distance, desire, only becomes a problem when a man hasn't mastered himself. The real advantage in any relationship isn't charm, looks, money, or even experience. It's self-governance. It's the inner discipline the Stoics lived by. And once you develop that mindset, you become untouchable, not because you're cold, but because you cannot be shaken by the emotional storms of others. Most men crumble because their identity is external. They lean on validation. They look for reassurance in a woman's tone, her attention, her affection. Their confidence rises when she's warm and collapses when she's cold. That makes you highly manipulable. And whether a woman intends to or not, she will influence a man who is governed by emotion instead of principle. The Stoic man flips that entirely. His emotions don't lead him, his values do. His sense of worth doesn't come from how a woman feels today. It comes from who he chooses to be every day. He becomes a man with a center, a man who doesn't chase approval, a man who doesn't fear loss, and a man who doesn't hand over the steering wheel of his life to someone else's moods. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That one sentence is the foundation of untouchable masculinity. When you stop trying to control women, their feelings, their reactions, their decisions, you finally begin controlling yourself. And that's when everything changes. A Stoic man isn't emotionless. He's emotionally disciplined. He feels attraction without losing his priorities. He feels desire without losing his judgment. He feels connection without losing his independence. Women react differently to this kind of man. They stop testing as much because your stability makes the tests pointless. They stop playing emotional games because there's no reaction to feed on. They stop pushing boundaries because you enforce them calmly. And they stop treating you as an option because you carry yourself like a man with direction. Untouchable doesn't mean uninterested. It means unshakable. The man who masters his inner world becomes the rarest thing in a woman's life. A man she cannot control, cannot predict, and cannot replace. And here's the part most men misunderstand: being untouchable actually makes you more loving, not less. Because your actions come from clarity, not fear. You don't hold grudges. You don't argue out of insecurity. You don't demand constant reassurance. Your steadiness gives her space to be feminine, emotional, vulnerable. Your presence becomes the calm in her chaos. You stop seeking to win her. You start seeking to master yourself. And ironically, that's when women chase the hardest. Self-mastery is the ultimate masculine currency, not because it impresses women, but because it frees you from needing anything from them. You become a man who chooses, not a man who clings. A man who leads, not a man who reacts. A man who can walk away, not out of anger, but out of strength. That is the Stoic power that makes you untouchable. When you own yourself, nothing outside of you can break you. And that, folks, is the highest level a man can reach. We've covered a lot today, folks. You've seen the real patterns behind female nature, the instincts most men never recognize, and the masculine mindset that keeps you grounded no matter who you deal with. If you take anything from this video, let it be this: a man who masters himself never fears how a woman thinks, feels, or reacts. You stay in control because you stay in command of your own mind. If you want to go deeper into Stoic discipline, masculine strength, emotional control, and the relationship dynamics most men get wrong, consider joining the channel membership. That's where I break down the things I can't talk about here. And if you found value today, make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss tomorrow's lesson. Thanks for watching, my friend. Take care of yourself, stay sharp, and I'll see you tomorrow.